Look at this picture closely. This was the game between Gukesh and Magnus Carlsen at the sixth round of the Superbet Grand Chess Tour happening in Poland, Warsaw. And you can see Gukesh smiling there, Magnus analyzing what happened in their game. Let's have a look at this encounter, and I can tell you it was filled with some amazing moments. Okay, so Gukesh is with the white pieces, Magnus is black, and off we go. 1 e4 by Gukesh. Magnus responds back with the solid e5. Knight came out to f3, knight c6, and now Gukesh plays the Italian with bishop c4. Magnus plays his knight to f6, and here, of course, me, like everyone else, felt that the move that Gukesh will play is d3, which is played so often at the top level. You castle here, then you play c3, and so on. But Gukesh went all out for the fried liver attack. He went for knight g5. Now, you are attacking here uh, on f7, and d5 was played in this position. Takes, and we all know that this is not a great move because of knight takes f7, leading to a completely uh, great position for white with queen f3 coming up and then later breaking in the center and so on. So the main move here is knight a5, and then black generally sacrifices a pawn, and then the bishop goes back generally. Let's say bishop e2. There's also bishop d3 here. A lot of theory. h6, knight f3, e4, knight e5, bishop d6. This is well known in chess theory. Now, Magnus, because he was surprised here, he decided to surprise Gukesh back by the move b5. And why is Magnus surprised? Because this move knight g5, I guess Gukesh has never played before. So that must have come as a surprise to Magnus. b5 was played. And the point of this move is that if you take here, then I take on d5, attacking your bishop and pawn. And this is already good compensation. Like if you have to go back like this is already not so great because black is developing very quickly. And if you have to take on c6, queen c6 and castle, this can get very risky with bishop and queen lining up in this diagonal. This is already not that great. So here the main move and the main theoretical move is something that you all should know. And if you do not know, try to pause this video and think, what would you do here as white? Yes, the move is the very special bishop f1. It is actually played against queen takes d5 because now that g2 is defended, there is knight c3 which hits the queen and the pawn. So Magnus decided to take with the knight. Now Gukesh took on b5, so that if you take this knight, I will take your knight on c6, bishop b7, and he pushed his pawn to d4, opening up his pieces. Now the only thing that white does not have as compared to black is the development. And so after takes, now you can think about queen takes d4 because the knight is pinned, but then queen e7 is a little bit irritating move to meet here already, with long castling coming up next, this opening up, and so on. So that's the reason why first Gukesh castles. Magnus plays bishop e7, and here Gukesh knew that the main move is queen h5, attacking here g6, queen h6. And this is what modern theory is all about. It is not about or modern chess opening is all about. It is not about finding new ideas. It's basically surprising your opponent, and this is what Magnus has done here. And so Gukesh said, I don't want to go into lines where Magnus might be better prepared. I might just lose in the opening and I might not remember the theory. So he played the more calm move knight f3, but that simply allowed Magnus to castle. And now taking on d4 is definitely an option. This position, with maybe a6 followed by bishop f6 or bishop d6. Black has full compensation for the pawn, but instead Gukesh took here and then took on d4, bishop b7. And once again you can see that this position is not easy for white to play, because imagine a move like c4, already knight b6, and I'm attacking here. It's, how do you defend it? b3 would run into bishop f6, and if there's any other move, like if you play knight c3, then I can take and already spoil your structure, bishop f6 with c5 coming up. So this bishop on b7 is an absolute monster on this long diagonal. So here knight d2 was played by Gukesh, and he thought he will put his knight on f3 or this knight on b3, play c3, have some solidity in the center. But this turned out to be a mistake. And the reason is I go knight f4. And I'm sure that Gukesh had in mind to put his knight on f3. But here is where I want to ask you, what is the move that you would play for black? Black to play, try to pause the video and think. So very, very good idea here is knight takes g2. It's an excellent move. King takes g2. And now queen d7. And this is brilliant compensation. Why? Because I'm going to play my rook to d8, queen g4. Let's say even if you stop it, I go rook a d8. And next move, I'm going to play c5. This is a massive pin and this is big trouble. So Gukesh, I don't know how he would have met this move, knight f3. Knight f4. So knight d2 wasn't the best there. Magnus, I guess, would have studied this line and seen the benefits of putting his rook on e8. And that is exactly what he does. He puts his rook on e8, which is good. Gukesh plays c3, offering another chance to Magnus to play knight f4, when things could have gotten very, very nasty this time, with now rook on e8 adding more venom to the attack. Black is winning here. But Magnus went c5, which is pretty good. Knight f5, trying to win this bishop. Bishop f8, knight f3. And now the queen came to f6. Now the queen is very well positioned, attacking the knight. The other rook will join in. And black's, look at black's pieces, so beautiful. While white is struggling with the development of this bishop. For the time being, the knight comes back. And now there are some ideas with bishop g5 in the air, but knight b6 would have solved them, because now bishop g5 doesn't work due to bishop takes f3. The bishop would be hanging, the queen is attacked. Yeah, this is a very special move actually, knight b6. And maybe for Gukesh, it wouldn't have been so easy to react to it with knight c4 coming in and b2 hanging and so on. So h6 by Magnus, slightly slow. Queen c2 played by Gukesh. And once again, I think it was important to open up this bishop's diagonal. So knight e7 was a very special move here. The point being that I'm attacking your knight, and let's say, how do you defend it? For example, if you go knight e1, I already get this knight rolling from the other side. So knight e7, very deep positional maneuver. And generally you don't make such backward moves. Knight d2, maybe here there can be the move rook a d8, f3, and you can sense that white is trying to solidify a bit, but once the queen moves and f5 comes in, that solidity is not going to remain. But rook a d8 was played by Magnus, and Gukesh found this move rook d1. Fantastic defensive idea, trying to trade at least one pair of rooks. Knight went back. Gukesh quickly traded and now played this very cool move, knight e1. I really liked it. The knight is now no longer being attacked and the pawn is defended. For all the pains that Gukesh is going through making these defensive moves, he has one pawn. So, and one very healthy pawn. Rook e8, and now bishop comes out to e3. So the bishop basically develops, knight c4. And now Gukesh plays another nice move, knight f1. So you can see he's completely on the last rank, but now he's kind of stabilizing his position. Magnus took, pawn take, knight takes, and now finds another excellent move. I loved this move by Magnus, which is c4. And this shows Magnus's deep understanding. He's pawn down. He's ready to give up another pawn here. The point being queen g5, threatening rook e1, and queen g2 mate. So you might have to go back. Then the bishop comes in, and already you can sense that there is a lot of play that is there in the position here. Maybe take rook e3. Black is doing very well here. So maybe some other improvements for white in this line, but taking the pawn was risky. Perhaps the safest move is queen d2, and then after you put your bishop here on c5, maybe knight c2, and yes, black has full compensation, but white is still hanging on there. He's doing pretty okay. It should be equal. Queen a4 was played by Gukesh, and now Magnus to play. What do you do? Black to play. Pause the video and think. Yes, the queen is attacking the rook and the pawn, and so black chops off the knight. Rook takes e3, f takes e3, and now the point behind it is bishop c5. So very fearless play by Magnus. And here Gukesh's best defense was to give a check. King h7, knight f3, takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and rook e1. And I think white is around equal, although white is an exchange up, is very passive, but black cannot do much with his queen and bishop. So in the end, maybe a perpetual will have to be agreed for somewhere. Queen h4, king g1. Oops, sorry, I can't blunder the rook, king here. Queen h3, king g1, check, and maybe it's a draw there. But he went for the move knight to f3, and which is a mistake because of takes. And now two moves are possible, king h1 and king f1. If king h1, I would like you to pause the video and find what is the winning move for black. If you thought bishop f3, you are in for a surprise, because after queen e8 here and queen e3, it's white who wins. So that's Gukesh's defense. But of course, the winning move here is the spectacular queen takes f3. Kudos to you if you found it. Take, mate. So that's the reason why here, very important move that Gukesh had planned was king f1. And here, I want you to again pause and think, what should black play? Black to play. Well, the point here is that bishop c6 is the winning move here. Not bishop takes f3 because of check, and again I take here with a great position for white. But bishop c6 stops queen e8, and I believe that Gukesh had in mind queen a6 here. That's what he said in the the interview after the game, that I'm pinning this bishop. And I think they both analyzed this line, which was queen g6. After the game, they analyzed queen g6, rook d1, queen c2, threatening mate here. And now this is trouble, yes. I think already there is no way to... I guess there is some defense with rook d2, perhaps, which is playable. But queen b1 check, king e2, and somehow queen e4. Black keeps the advantage. And another point here is that instead of rook d1, if you play queen to c4, then there is queen c2, queen e2, and now this very nice little move. Try to find if you if you can hear. Yes, bishop b5. And this is pinning here. If you take, I have checkmate. So it's a pretty little variation. Rook d1 was played. If played here, queen c2 is very strong. So maybe this was, but here, by the way, there is a strong move according to the engines instead of queen g6, which I am sure that Gukesh and Magnus both hadn't seen, which is king at 7. And well, it's just an improving move, stopping away all the checks. Bishop can come back, and essentially what it's saying is that black is winning in this position. So queen d1 is what Gukesh played. He wants to defend the knight with his queen. And here once again the final move that Magnus needed to make in order. I thought this is now just completely winning, and Magnus finds this move. What is it? Bishop e4. Fantastic move, trying to come in to give a check. Gukesh played this move again. He's just coming here. He wants to create this problems of queen e8. And so very logically Magnus goes king at 7. But actually the winning idea was a slightly trickier one. Check, king e1, and now this very, very nice move, queen b6. Defending the bishop, attacking here so that queen e8 check, this bishop is defended. It's tough move to find, like something like rook d1 if I play, there is bishop f2 and queen e3, which is already a checkmate. So there was this entire threat, but couldn't work. Bishop d3 is a very, very nice move here, but Magnus played king at 7, and that gave Gukesh the only defense here. And I think this is the final move which you need to. No, there's one more move. What would you play here with white? King e2. Very important move, because now if you give a check, your bishop is hanging, and so he had to give one tempo. And Gukesh once again finds the only move here, white to move. What do? He brings in his rook to d1. Well, you could play rook e1, rook d1 here, but then queen g6 is already very tricky to play, because you might want to run away with your king here, but it's already a mate. So that's the reason why the right move is rook e1. And after queen g6, again, you have to find the only move for white. You can see how many only moves Gukesh found in order to hold this. King d1, fantastic move. And now after queen takes g2, he took the bishop. And finally, we came to a moment where Magnus had to agree to a perpetual check, and the game ended in a draw. So this was a very, very interesting battle between the World Championship challenger and the world number 1, Magnus and Gukesh. And there are some nice pictures. This is of course after the game where they analyzed a bit. This was at the start of the game where they had this very nice handshake, all by Lennart Utes. This is right in the middle of the game where I think Magnus has missed the win and he's not too thrilled about it. But he was very happy in the middle of the game. He played really well. And here the final handshake between the two. So these were some of the very nice images from this game. I would say Magnus played really well, apart from missing that one idea. Gukesh, I think, also defended excellently. Many players would have collapsed against Magnus under such attack, but Gukesh did not. And after day 2 of the tournament, these are the standings. We have Magnus and Vei leading. Prague, Shevchenko are on one point behind. Nodirbek, Gukesh and Arjun are just 2 points behind. So one win and they are right up there. Duda on 5, Vincent on 4, and Anish is struggling here with 3 points. But I hope that he would have a better day 3. For now, this is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.